Hi, my name is Scott Reynolds, and I'm the team leader of the Reynolds Team here at Compass in Vero Beach. And today, on today's podcast, I have a special guest, Kathleen Pogany.
Hi.
And we were just talking about a bit, a subject that has been coming up quite a bit of should I rent my home out or should I sell it? So I thought this would be a good podcast to we were talking back and forth of some of the advantages of maybe renting your home out and some of the advantages of that.
Right.
So maybe one of the easy ones is, an advantage for renting your home out is,
well, someone else is paying down your mortgage for you. So, I have a property, a couple that's why I'm doing it, so that someone else can pay down my mortgage, and that's my investment, and I watch it grow, and I watch my mortgage go down.
Right. It's fun watching the amortization schedule go down.
The value grows and with appreciation each year, and my mortgage is getting paid off by someone else.
Yeah, and over the long term, obviously, there's, the market is going up and down, and, but anytime you can be a genius investor if you just look over the next 20 years of anything. And I'm exaggerating my point, the years to make a point. But real estate always is going up over a long window of time. So you're always going to get that appreciation benefit.
That's what I was looking at, the big picture. I wasn't looking at a 1 year or 2 year. I was looking at, in the big picture, 15-year mortgage, it'll be paid off by someone else, and that's my great investment that's been appreciating, whether it be 2%, 4%. The past few years, we've had an increase in appreciation.
Right.
So,
and on the 15-year notes, some people, there's two camps on the 15-year mortgages. I like, as long as I'm comfortable and the rent makes sense, I personally like the 15-year notes because it really is like forced savings. And it really cuts down, like if you have a $2,000 payment of principal and interest, about half of that is all principal on a 15-year note, where only like 10 or 15% of that is principal on a 30-year note.
right.
But you can obviously make extra payments, right?
Right. So I have one where I was very comfortable with the monthly payment and knew my rent would cover that and the condo association fees and taxes and all my costs. So I was very comfortable doing the 15-year. Whereas on another property, I stretched it out to 30 years, but I do make extra payments because just one extra payment a year saves you 8 years on a 30-year loan typically.
And that does give you the flexibility, like if for one reason or another, rents went down or, something, major repair was going on, you wouldn't need to have that financial obligation.
Right. And that was my very first purchase as an investment. So I was a little more nervous, Nelly, about it. And now I'm getting very good rent for it, but it does give me a cushion in case, I need it.
So obviously the loan balance is getting paid down by somebody else.
Right.
And then you got the appreciation, whether it's 3% or 5%. I'm always kind of conservative, but 3 to 5% is a good conservative. And lately, I'm sorry, I'm not. It's been like 10. Been much higher. But still, if you average that out over time, it's probably a long enough time. It's probably 5-6%.
And your payment stays the same during that time. So that's what I like. That's my payment. There's no surprises every year. So and if I have more money and I'm getting really great rent, sometimes maybe I'll make more payments to my mortgage or not.
Yeah, it's really fun to. One last point on this is that on the spreadsheet that at least I keep and I know you keep is, you can see what your net profit is over here. On a given property, maybe $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 in a year, and just with repairs and taxes and remodeling and everything. And then you see the mortgage balance paid down $5,000 or $6,000 on a given year, and then you sprinkle in 3 or 4% interest. That's over time. That's really good. You're not gonna get rich off of one property, but it's a really nice, solid way of building wealth.
Yeah, and you got me hooked on that, so I decided to do that. Trying every year to do that, and there's great tax benefits, which is the other huge perk.
Yeah, the depreciation, and I'm not an accountant by no stretch of the imagination, but the tax benefits, the depreciation helps you write off some of the income that you get so that you don't have to pay taxes on it. And talk to your local, CPA on the, I know that something with the annual value of it divided by some 27 years is your depreciation. So
and your write-offs on repairs and costs like that as well.
And the probably my personal favorite, because I did live through, well, we probably all did, but working and living through the recession and the stock market and everything changing, pretty rapidly. Real estate's something that I like, that I can drive by and see and touch, and that it's not going to disappear in the middle of the night.
My stocks did one day.
Yeah, so I like, and I always feel like everyone's going to need shelter. And so it's something that I've always been a big proponent for. The other thing is tax deferred sale. So commonly you'll hear it as 1031 exchange.
Yeah. And I'm toying around with that now because I started with a property, and I'm toying around with possibly selling that and taking my proceeds and buying something closer to the beach, getting better rent. And so that gives you the opportunity to do that.
So it's not, so at the point of sale, it's not a taxable event if you're exchanging for like property. So you could take the proceeds and put it right back into another property and without any kind of tax trigger. So eventually, at some point in time, you have to pay taxes because at some point in time, someone's going to liquidate the final property, but it's at least deferred, and you don't have to pay it now.
Yeah, you can defer it for 30 years if you're still around.
And one other last point is, as you start accumulating like a rental home here, a rental home here, a condo there, another rental home here, a multifamily, you're starting to build some real assets. And if you've had down payments and long-term rents and they've been paid down, now you can start using them and leverage them to buy additional properties by using the equity that's in these properties. And there's special mortgage programs and mortgage people that can tie these together where you can leverage some of the value that's there and for future properties, and just let the rents kind of pay for the debt service. So, but it's easier just starting with one. I guess one other thing is the one other point I was going to make is, especially for young people, like first-time home buyers, I wish I would have done this when I was young. So I always tell every young person I meet, when you're buying that starter home, you're getting an FHA loan or low down payment. You're probably getting a fairly aggressive interest rate for the time, and instead of selling that property, rent it out and make it your first investment property, and then buy the move-up home. Save your money for the move-up home. They have some aggressive loan programs where it's 5% or 10% down, and where you're starting off in your early 20s with your first investment property.
I wish I would have had that, because in my early 20s with a savings account, it was easy to touch that money. I had that liquid cash, but if it's in a property and I can't touch it, it's building my savings. And, when in your 20s to 30s, maybe I necessarily was not the best with money. So it would have been great to have been doing that and been schooled on how to do that.
Yeah, I never had that. Me personally, I never had that exposure.
No, so I wish looking back, I'm trying to get my son to do that, because I see, it's easy to touch that money in vacation, but let's start building your net worth and your wealth.
Especially when you're young and you are good at your craft, you just feel like you could just make more money, so you spend it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then the conversation really is: should I rent out my house or sell my house? The other avenue of that is, where you're living in your home, you built up a lot of equity. Should you maybe get a second mortgage and buy the next home, or line of credit, or just sell the home, tap out, and then get the next home. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've been hearing now some people wanting to just cash out because they're a little nervous about the market. So I think it's all, your comfort level on where you're at. If you're comfortable having that investment property, but if cycles of different markets make you nervous, it may be time, it may work for you, because sometimes people feel cash is king, and maybe if the inventory is tight, maybe they need that money for a stronger offer.
Yeah,
instead
stronger
of a
down
mortgage.
payment.
Or maybe they buy it cash, because right now I know in some places they still have multiple offers on properties, and people with mortgages that need to finance may be losing out to cash. So that may be one instance where someone wants to pull the cash out.
Yeah, it may not be maybe risk adverse.
Right.
so I mean, it's not because you hear all the horror stories. Someone moves in the house, they trash it, and then you're stuck with this property. They're not paying rent, and so it's not. It really isn't for everybody.
Right.
But there are some best practices to have success with it, right?
Right.
I mean, like screening, meeting the people.
Your tenants, meeting them. And then, when we have a repair request, we do that quickly, because we don't, and we ask them to tell us, because, don't tell us 7 months later if there was been a leak in the house. And, and if you're not here, have a really good property manager, someone keeping an eye on the house, because sometimes, those are the bad stories I hear, when someone's not here and they're doing it from another state and don't have anyone managing the property.
And you do have to do, I think a lot of people look at all the benefits of, owning property. But, just like your primary home, there's always things that you're doing to it, and there's always things that need attention. And so nothing is different with a rental property. So having like ongoing maintenance that's going on is, something that I just started doing. We have the one property that we've owned for a while, and the tenants are wanting to renew it, and they've been in it for, I think, 4 years now. Nice. And I ordered a home inspection.
Oh.
I'm like, I haven't been in the house in a while. I've checked on some things. They're great tenants, but I don't know what's going on underneath the cabinet. I don't know what's going on. The roof is towards the end of its life. And I used DBJ, and they did a full-blown home inspection. And now I have like a little to-do list for the handy person.
And peace of mind that there's nothing major wrong, because sometimes they don't know what's behind the walls and what the roof is doing, and haven't been in the attic looking, for leaks. So.
Yeah, and having Devin and it also shows how the tenant, because I wanted to be candid, I wanted to see if I wanted to renew the lease, because if they're not taking care of it, then I wasn't interested in doing that. But so it worked out really well, and I just for $275.
Yeah, maintenance important. I have a regular checkup on the ACs, because in Florida, AC is a big deal, and that gives me peace of mind that there were, and the tenants like that things are being taken care of and everything's operating properly as well. And I have a pest control person that has a regular contract with us, so of course you want to keep the properties up to standards.
I started. It took me 2 years to figure it out, but. I put them on, I think that's what you're saying, a twice a year. I did twice a year AC maintenance, because it never failed. The AC would fail on a holiday weekend on Friday. And this poor family is sitting there, and it's like, and it's simple thing for Florida. The AC drain line clogs like every 4 or 5 months, like clockwork. Yeah. So we set it up for twice a year, and I never get those calls. And actually, the tenant calls the HVAC company to remind them that it's time to come clean it. And I just bake it all into the rent and the service, but they pay for it indirectly. But it's also not a problem.
It's also nice to have your own handy person, whether it be a handyman or handy girl, which we have a handy girl, and she knows all of our homes very well, and because we're good clients, she goes out right away whenever there's a problem. So it's always nice to have the vendor list that you need.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she saves me quite a few times, and it was real quick funny story on that. There was a gentleman that was a tenant, and he was having a drain problem. He was saying the garbage disposal was not working, so I texted the handy lady, and she went over there and like with just a wrench fixed it for him, and I just thought that was just so funny.
Oh yeah,
So,
I had that yesterday.
so,
She had fixed 2 sink faucets that were loose, and it was just a wrench. But it's peace of mind. There you go.
And then you also get someone eyes on the property too.
Yeah.
So,
and she's in the dirt.
So the kind of all in all, there's if someone has my kind of takeaway and the way I believe is like if you have the stomach for it, and it doesn't have to be a tough stomach. It does take some thought and thinking it through and planning. But building some investment wealth from real estate is key, right?
Right. I totally agree.
I mean, you started off with a condo, and you've had great luck with that.
I've had it. All of my homes have been rented the entire time I've owned them. Right. So, which it depends on your market too, but obviously Florida is a huge rental market. And there are a lot of people that, not just because we're vacations, but need to rent for multiple reasons. So we've had, and you have had no problem renting out yours as well.
No.
So I used you as I watched what you were doing and kind of mirrored that.
I did have one, and it was my fault that, in my opinion, trashed the place. And it was just, I did not tend to, I always took care of any repairs, but they never told me about anything. But they just wore out the place and they just didn't live very, very good in it, and so, but it was time to remodel. So I remodeled all the flooring and everything.
That's why you probably are getting the inspection on the other one.
Yeah.
You got the inspection. So you learn.
Yeah.
Just like with any home.
And of course it was, deductible, and, it wasn't as big of a deal as it felt the day I walked in. But for the most part, it's all about the screening, I would say, and meeting the people. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a good feeling right then and there, it's not going to get any better.
Right.
So,
and it's important to, like you said, stay boots on the ground.
Yeah.
With it, whether it be a property manager or yourself. Yeah. Keeping an eye on things, and those horror stories, I don't hear those all the time. They're few and far between, but they do happen. Yeah.
No, the most of my tenants have all been long. I've got one couple. They're retiring in the condo, and they've been there since 2014. So that's 9 years. Mm-hmm. So they pretty much paid off the place. Yeah. So, and then, so I think that was the big topic that we wanted to talk about, was like renting versus selling. There's obviously the obvious advantage of selling the property is dealing with the knowns, and having options of, making your next move. Yeah. It's, fairly risk-free. And so that's, but it's nothing like building up assets, and it adds up pretty quickly. Like if you look at like the first condo, it would now sell for what, approximately?
So my first condo I bought 5 years ago, and or 4 years ago, 5. It's already doubled in value because we had the big increase in appreciation. And the tenants paid down a huge chunk of the mortgage. Mm-hmm. So that one I could more than actually, because of the mortgage and the appreciation, I could sell it for triple the price.
So, but it's like round numbers, 300,000.
Yeah, like 325 from what I'm watching right now.
And then the other condo, which you just recently bought, was like 275 now.
That one, I just pulled comparables because I've been toying with, do I want to do a 1031 exchange and buy something closer to the beach, or keep this property? We purchased it for $155. We did put a lot of money into it.
Mm-hmm.
We put about $60,000 into it, and we could sell it probably for $300 right now, based on what I'm seeing.
So that's 6.25.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know a couple years ago, or a year ago, recently, you bought the duplex.
Right, that was August. And the duplex did not have central air.
Right.
But we did that.
Yeah.
And then we just painted and got that on the market. It's lovely. And that one, we probably right now, after putting $30,000 into it, probably could make $100 on it if we sold it.
So that round numbers is around 500,000 now. So just adding up, just scratch math. That's $1.1 million in assets. There's some debt on it,
Right.
but the total cost to have $1.1 million in asset was probably, 20% here and 20% there.
Yeah.
So like, would you say cash out maybe 100,000, 150?
Without down payments?
No, with
the down payments.
2.
Yeah, probably 200.
So 200 out of pocket, and then you borrowed it, and someone else is paying the debt. You accumulated roughly 1.1 of an asset.
Right. It's better than my stocks
right
now.
Right.
My stocks that I bought for 15, and now they're worth 1,000.
Yeah, and honestly, and if it was even today, if the right investment property came up with interest rates being what they are and all that, I would still be an investor. I'd still be a buyer.
The duplex was 6.125 when we purchased.
Right.
I had a rock star lender, and he waited and got it to 5.8, but I wasn't afraid of 6.125. Back in the day, I purchased for 12%.
Right.
So in the sixes doesn't scare me at all.
No, and then the rents,
if it makes sense with the numbers.
Yeah, if the rents are, that's just the cost of money, and then usually if the interest rates are like that, the values are, so the rent is going to cover it unless something weird is going on in the world. So
and oddly enough, that is the one I'm making the most money on with the rent and my interest rate. I'm still making the most
cash flow
on that one.
Wow, that's good.
And that was a just purchase when everybody froze in August. People were like waiting for everything to just fall apart, and I was quite comfortable buying that then.
And I don't think any of them you stole or like
every single one we had to put work into, which a lot of people aren't willing to do. So we didn't have multiple offers. Well, the duplex, we were going to be in a multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
So we offered asking price, and we got it. So.
Right. So well, good. Well, if you'd like to talk more about investing, or if you would like to learn about the difference between selling versus renting, both of our information's below. You'll have Kathleen's information below. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to help and answer any questions that you have.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.